the actual cemetery is 300 yards that way. So if you look at that pole, the first one and then the second one where the field goes right up to it, we measured that out in 2019 with your grandson, and we knew the exact spot, 300 yards. So we took a picture of the spot, plus we did the flyover. It's on the website. And we were disappointed when we didn't find any cooks' names on it. But small children would have probably been buried either right where they were or not, because they had just come. Amanda Savage lost her child, not Amanda. Annalisa lost her child while they were just barely moving into her. So she was pregnant. You did an excavation here in 1990, and they proved that this spot, just beyond that fence, was the exact spot where Sodom, the Fort Sodom was. Now, when I first heard that name, I'm going, oh no, Sodom and Gomorrah. But they weren't thinking of that. It was all made of sod, and so they just call it Fort Sodom.
You know, people did it to be funny.
No. Oh, they couldn't get along for anything. These were people very independent, very rugged. They weren't used to being around a lot of people. They'd already worried about being killed by the army. Many of them had been ambushed or hurt by them. And members of the church were wonderful, but they also had a lot of self-interest. And just like today, we get along great as long as we keep our self-interest to ourselves. And try to talk politics to anybody in the church, it's almost like you've committed the unpardonable sin. So we don't do that. But here, this is where they set it up. And what Mr. Steele told us when we were talking to him is he has a real problem in the spring because everything is completely flooded. So he can't hardly use the land then. So he moves his horses, he does everything, because all of this area is flooded every year in the spring. But one thing nice when we were here filming in the fall, it was in late fall, there were bald eagles all throughout these trees. It was so fantastic. There's an eagle there.
Uh-huh.
Those
are hawks.
They found that it was just right there, beyond those broken down fence. And the biggest, Phineas had the biggest home, and so school and church was held in his home, because it was bigger than all the other little homes that they made, which I thought was pretty significant. And I think he kept doing that, didn't he? Yeah, he kept doing that even after moving from here. So he built a little bit bigger. He had a lot of talent. Some of us, I built a nice bookshelf that my dad used for years in his garage because it went like this. But he had some real talent for that. That was, but this is where it all happened. Now, if you look down here towards the lake, when they couldn't get along, decide where they're going to go to Sandtown or Mechanicsville, Lower Goshen was then built down that way. And if any of you have the map, and it's in Janet's book too, that map, it shows about touching the lake is where that was built. And they that didn't last a long time either, but we have a map of where people lived in that town. and who is there. It's just our family doesn't show up.